Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Zach Celadonia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me to my side today, my co-host and colleague, a fast food fiend as he is, Zach Flash Celadonia. Zach, man, what's going on?
Hey, great to be here. The fast food Flash is here. I'm excited after the weekend, ready to talk Steelers football. Not a whole lot going on in the Steelers world, but plenty to fill this show, I would say. Or should I say, Kenny to fill this show.
I see what you did there, man. Are we going to go? It's 40 seconds in. Come on, we can't talk quarterbacks already, can we? I know you got McDonald's for pregame again. I know you did McDonald's for the pregaming again. That was your game day meal.
I can't help it, dude. Last week I sucked myself in by doing it for the first preseason game, and it was a good performance all around for the team. So I'm a superstitious guy, and I had to repeat what I did last week in order to repeat the success of last week. So yeah, I ordered McDonald's again. Sue me.
Yeah, and you said something about your DoorDasher too, I think. You're like,
oh yeah, she had her kid with her, which is fine. I wasn't, when I tweeted that, I wasn't trying to be like, oh my God, she had her kid with her, like, get right. That's fine that the kid was with her. My whole thing was, if he took a fry, we're gonna have problems. Or if he touched my bag. I mean, with kids have dirty hands.
Yeah, I was just curious. I haven't done a lot of the DoorDash stuff. Does stuff arrive like fresh or hot or warm, or does it seem like it takes like an hour and it's cold? And it's just because sometimes even just going through the drive-through, it's just, I don't know, you get home and then it's like, oh my God, this is like not good enough. You know what I mean? Like,
I've found that if you schedule ahead of time, that's a risky move, because I have a theory that when you schedule ahead of time, instead of doing like bring it to me ASAP, when you schedule ahead of time, I think some places make the order right then and there, and then like you're just screwed and on your own. Like if you order from an hour and a half from now, that food's made right now and waiting for you for an hour and a half before the dasher shows up. So if you schedule ahead of time, there's a chance it's less fresh. But if you wait till like, you're feeling hungry and the standard delivery time's like a half hour to an hour, that's your window of opportunity to try and get a fresh order to the house. And I'm not usually too disappointed. DoorDash does a good job. They messed up my order one time, and I complained about it real fast, and they refunded me right away. So I don't really have anything bad to say about DoorDash.
oh, that's good. I almost did that the other day. That's why I was thinking about it. I was watching the second half of the Steelers game and looking at all these places I could order. I always do ordering on the apps, not like the DoorDash apps, which by the way was hilarious. Domino's tried to drag them, and they're saying, oh, we don't have like, don't pay all this extra and everything that's on there. And then they add like a $5 to $7 delivery fee aside from the tip that you give from the driver. And it's already like the same thing. It's so crazy. But I was looking, it didn't dawn on me until the game was almost over. I was like, oh, you know what? I could have just did Grubhub or something like that and just had stuff brought over to me for a few extra bucks. And then I was a sad panda by then. I went with Taco Bell for the first time in forever, and I was like, holy cow, like a 12-pack of tacos, not just for me, by the way, not just, even though I ate the majority of them, I'm but I don't want to make it sound like I'm a 12 taco guy. I'm only an 11 taco guy. But
don't be shy. I'm good for 6 or 7 every taco night.
And, my favorite thing was there was an old David Letterman bit, and they were pranking people. I don't know if it was necessarily him, but it was on the show, maybe one of the writers or something. And they went through the drive-through, and they were talking about like, hey, I need 10 tacos, whatever it was. And give me 5 soft ones and 5 hard ones. They like really laid into saying the hard ones. But
I want those ones hard.
Yes, I got to get the hard, but the crunchy taco. I think they used to call it, I don't know if they called it a hard taco. I don't know if that's just my imagination. Sometimes you remember things differently than what they actually occurred, which is,
I definitely say hard taco.
Yeah, par for the course for this show. I mean, that's why we're here, but there's people who see and think things differently. But yeah, the tacos, that wasn't too bad. But I was going to say a 12-pack now is like 18 buckaroos, man. I remember tacos were cheap. You'd be in college. That's why you got tacos. That's why Taco Bell was open till like 4 or 5 in the morning. It never closed. You know what I mean? It was the cheap go-to. Yeah. Now let's talk quarterbacks.
Great even late. Was that them?
Oh, maybe. It was Fourth Meal. Fourth Meal was one of theirs too. They have so much marketing and branding, and I swear they're changing the layout of their stores like every other year.
You remember the Chihuahua? I miss that guy.
Oh yeah, Yo Quiero Taco Bell. That was good too, man. They have a lot of memorable ones. If you ever look up their logos, like you don't really realize, like Pizza Hut's gone like throwback, retro. McDonald's like hardly ever. McDonald's has like subtle changes to their branding, but more or less the packaging. It's not like the sign really changes. They finally ran out of space for like the 99 billion served or whatever it used to be on the signs all the time. Now they just put the arch on there. It doesn't even say McDonald's. A lot of that is local zoning and ordinances. You got these tiny little signs because there's a McDonald's practically everywhere. There's probably like 50 of them I could order from within a 10-mile radius. But it's like Pizza Hut went retro. But look up Taco Bell, folks. Look it up. Look up Taco Bell logos. And it'll kind of like blow your mind. You'll be like, wow, I remember that. Oh, wait, they changed that. But then they changed it like a little more. They changed the colors. They changed everything. It's pretty wild.
There used to be a lot more color and personality.
Yeah, it really is. Nothing has color and personality anymore. So now we're ready for quarterbacks, right? The moment, I mean,
vocal cords warmed up.
I don't know what else to talk about. I mean, we could talk about Benny Snell. That's going to come up eventually, I guess. But I think we just need to hit the nail on the head because it's just going to come out through the course of this regardless. So, Zach, ready to blow your mind again this week. I got a theory. I got
like Bill Nye over here.
I got a theory on the Steelers handling all of this. And it might be, I don't know how much Kenny Pickett plays. Maybe he does. Maybe he starts this third game and there isn't a lot of starters. That might have been the plan all along, is to let's get through him earning and moving up the chart through training camp. Then he's not with the ones. There's not as much pressure. They're now going to be practicing away from Latrobe. Training camp's over. And that's a closed environment. Like, folks can't talk about something unless somebody confirms it in an interview. So now maybe it lessens the pressure on him. This may have been the plan all along, provided that, he knocked out the checklist, which he's done to this point. And that checklist is to be the starter week 1. And I'm going to take this take it to another level. Do I really want to take it to another level yet? Let's just examine the game first. I guess we can go through some of this. So Mitchell Trubisky starts the game, and of course, people are talking passer ratings and all of these different things. Let's see. Mitch was 5 of 8 for 60. And again, it's like what we said before. It's not necessarily that Mitch is doing anything wrong. It's not necessarily that Mason's doing anything wrong. But Kenny is not only not doing things wrong, but he looks impressive in everything that he's doing. He's the first round pick. He's the one that you invested in. He's, the shiny new toy, all these other things. And if you're going to develop this guy, but they pulled him. And I know we saw the tweet. It was Mark Cabali. And he said, wow, that was really weird because he came in with only like 6 minutes left in the second quarter and didn't come back in. Third quarter was the Mason Rudolph show from there forward. Only attempted 7 passes, completed 6 of 7, 76 yards, and a touchdown, 151.1 rating. And let me see, Kenny had an 85.7% of his passes completed, which is phenomenal. Now let's talk about why this is phenomenal, or why everyone's gears are shifting, or why even people are defending. People are coming along with Mason Rudolph now too, and I've got my other second part to this.
Money Mason's what I call him.
People are saying Money Mitch too, and then I guess Money Kenny. Sounds like James Bond's love interest, Money Kenny, Money Penny.
Yeah, there's no alliteration there at all.
But I don't, Cash Kenny Cash.
There you go, Kenny Cash.
There you go. We'll do something with it. Kenny Pickett. I don't know. But anyway.
Oh, right on, Kenny Pickett. That's hilarious.
But he was money. Now I understand the offensive line. Everyone's going to say, and I'll give a little bit of, a pass maybe with Mitch Trubisky. But my problem has always been like the decisiveness, the reading of the defenses, etc. And you had a little bit more of that where he had to use his feet. He still took a sack in this game. Yes, Dan Moore was looking bad. Kendrick Green was looking bad. We're going to talk about that for sure. But Kenny comes in with the same guys practically. Now, I think Kevin Dotson does come in maybe for Kendrick Green at some point here and might provide a little bit more protection. But the fact of the matter is Kenny looked a lot better with the same cast and crew than Mitch Trubisky did, which now starts to get the wheels turning in a different direction, of which we were saying this months ago after like how this could play out. And this is starting to play out toward, do you start Kenny Pickett week 1? Because I am certainly in the neighborhood of thought of doing just that now.
As am I. As am I. Come on over, baby. And this has been the whole thing is that the Steelers, I think their plan was initially to get a quarterback who was going to have to sit for the year. I love that you say you open that with he's going through the checklist and checking the boxes because that's terminology that I've adapted myself and tried to use in conversation, telling people that it's not a matter of Kenny it's not a matter of Mitch and Mason doing anything wrong, really, but Kenny is doing everything that is asked of him great. And he's checking all the boxes and he's passing every test that the Steelers are putting in front of him and allowing him to kind of be himself. And when you think about everybody who wanted to start off with, oh, well, it's just camp right now. And then that turned into, oh, well, it's just the first preseason game. He's going against third teamers, playing with third teamers, I mind you, as well. And now it's turned into, oh, it's just the next preseason game that he's happening to look good in as well. Don't get too excited about that. Dude, what do you want Kenny to do? When you keep saying he's doing everything that he needs to be doing, that by definition is winning the quarterback competition. And he's 19 to 22, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns this preseason so far with 138.6 rating. He's thrown more incompletions, or he's thrown the same amount of incompletions as touchdowns right now. And I get it that the average isn't that impressive. I think he's at 5.7 yard per attempt. And you've got guys like Warren Sharp and I use this term really lightly, football nerds, because I think analytics have their place in football, and I think they can be applied to a winning team, and they can be used to your team's benefit, that they have their spot. But there are some things that you can't track with numbers and make a direct correlation to a player being good or bad. Warren Sharp put out a tweet focusing on how Kenny's average is just so much lower than Mitch's average right now. The thing is, you can look at those numbers, but you can't look at the fact that the first preseason game, all those short throws, I think, and I know you think, those were designed plays. He was supposed to get the ball out fast. He was supposed to check it down. He was supposed to go to his first read that was open. He was doing what he was supposed to do. So that small average that you're pointing out, that takes away from Kenny doing his job the right way. And it was his first preseason game. And it didn't take long for him to kind of take that average and toss it to the side in this next preseason game where he had 3 of his best throws yet, 2 of which that were taken away because of penalties that weren't Kenny's fault in this last game versus the Jaguars. You said he went 6 of 7, which is true. I had a tweet that I was like, dude, he went 8 of 7 if you really want to break it down because they took away his touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson, which was an awesome throw. I saw someone break it down this morning. Kenny got ready to throw that ball to Deontay for the touchdown versus the Jaguars. He started to throw it before Deontay even started running towards the middle of the field. Deontay was just about to make his break, and Kenny was making the throwing motion. That is a great sign of anticipation and trusting your guys and knowing what you're doing out there. And before that, Kenny had a 3rd down conversion, 3rd and long. He hit Claypool over the middle, and they called that back. I think that was offsetting penalties. Or maybe the touchdown was, but either way, they took 2 of Kenny's best throws of the night that certainly weren't 5.5 yards away from him, and to no fault of his own, because I think they were both penalties on our offensive line, and both of those throws, Kenny was still throwing under duress with guys in his face. So it isn't like the penalties helped him make those throws. And that's my issue with guys like Warren Sharp and these guys that are like, oh, well, if you really break it down and look at it this way, these throws really aren't that impressive. Dude, shut the fuck up. Yes, they are that impressive because he's doing what he's being asked to do. And you already said this and you put it just how I've been trying to put it as well. It's nothing that Mitch and Mason are doing wrong. They're getting the job done. It's just the stuff that Kenny's doing right is really hard to ignore. This he throws it too early and he's not ready yet. He was with the same offensive line that Mitch was playing with, and Kenny made decisions faster. He threw the ball with more anticipation. He knew where guys were better. He looked like he was the veteran of the two because Mitch looked a little more scared running around for his life. And I like that he has the mobility, but Kenny looked more comfortable than Mitch last game, and he was dealing with the same pressure, the same offensive line, the same weapons. And that's the other part of this theory, that there's a lot of people that want to protect Kenny and coddle him in a sense because they're afraid that this offensive line is going to get him killed. I get that. I do. But Kenny just showed you last game. The proof is in the pudding. He just showed you last game that with that offensive line, he will perform better than Mitch. I know it was a small window, but that is my one of my favorite points that I've realized with this argument, that everybody's so, oh, now Kenny's done all he needs to do, right? He's checked every box. He's winning the competition. Now but we still can't start him because the offensive line is so bad. Dude, you can't live in your fears. You can't be afraid to play this kid, especially when he's winning the competition.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say win the competition. And I understand there were some penalties with Mitchell Trubisky's drive as well. But you take a look at the possession chart for the Steelers in this game. And it was, let me see, 7 plays, 40 yards, the missed field goal, 3 for -9 yards, and a punt. 5 for 33. There were 10 penalty yards in that. That was also a punt. Kenny comes in 3 for 9. There were 10 penalty yards. It was a 3 and out. The net on that was a -1. They end up punting. And then 5 for 63 driving for the touchdown, which the touchdown in and of itself, and people will say this was a design play for Benny Snell the whole way. This little wheel route, nobody was marking him. The ball was right on the money. Just my whole thing has been from training camp. He didn't have a whole lot of reps as far as, let's say, with the twos, and not really any with the ones. And the 2-minute drills were dominated by being run by Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. And he goes out there and he's run 2 of these 2-minute drills already to success. That's impressive, and he's doing it against what was largely on Jacksonville's side still starters as well.
He's been awesome in 2-minute drill, dude. You cannot ignore that. You're so right. I had that written down and forgot to bring it up. He's been awesome, double underline in 2-minute drill. That's situational football that Mike Tomlin preaches and coaches. And I agree. His 2-minute has been like, you're almost. The first game I was nervous for him. The second game I was excited because he's giving us that as a fan base. You're excited to see Kenny in the 2-minute drill because he's doing so well in it.
And I think that's the tip of the cap here is Mike Tomlin. He goes and he pulls Kenny after just those 2 series. And it's like, what else more do you want to see? I've seen enough. Get this guy out of here. We don't want to get anybody hurt. This looks like the future. That's the message it sent to me, not like, wow, this is really odd way they pull him out. Did they want to see more of Mason? No, I don't think so. And the game script didn't allow Kenny to be in there longer. It wasn't just like a first quarter, second quarter, third quarter thing, because they could have put him in there like a play earlier, and they were trying to see what kind of traction they were getting with Mitch, and they were getting no traction with Mitch. And as this process continues to unfold, and you know where I'm going to go with this, and I've been pretty vocal for the most part in that I'm just kind of I'm out on Mitch Trubisky. I had to be sold on him a little bit to begin with. I didn't have to be sold on a quarterback. In fact, I had to be sold on using a first round pick, which a lot of people are still against. That's all we're going to hear now too is, oh, well, they used it on Kenny 2 gloves instead of an offensive lineman. And last year too, well, Najee could probably be a star, but they could have got a lineman. Yeah, probably a bum, because there's guys out there like Alex Leatherwood who the Raiders went and took with like the 15th overall pick that still aren't hacking it. There's Tevin Jenkins, who was probably the top tackle on the board, that went to the Bears, that's like not really played or done anything and is almost out of town already over there in Chicago. So would you rather be in that situation, or would you rather have steady full-time starters that are capable of putting up numbers and supporting either the quarterback or getting the quarterback? Everybody's going to be kicking themselves if Pickett is the starter. Let's say the Steelers, it's very highly likely the Bengals game is going to be tough. There's no doubt. Well, let's say they come out of this and they're at least 2-2 or 3-1 in September, which I never anticipate, especially in September. It's an extension of the preseason and a new quarterback. But I mean, he's gunslinging it. He looks every bit the part. He looks comfortable. It doesn't look like the moment's too big for him. I could go into Cincinnati and just and let him go. Let him go. Let's see what he could do. And if it's a loss, I think it's gonna like stick in his side, and he's gonna be pissed off. And then he's gonna, when they come back to Acrisure Stadium, it's going to be tough to get used to that. Bill Hillgrove was even, he hasn't flubbed, is from what I've heard, but he even mentioned, like, you get so used to saying stuff like that. But, that's going to be kind of the thing where now, like, you get back to there and he's got some experience and he's doing well. And it's not just check downs. The air yards is so overinflated, bro. I get that some of the design plays
average, and they think that means every single throw. It's like that's such an annoying thing.
It's like one throw. It's one throw, like curving the rest of the grade averages here. It's ridiculous. I think there's was there one or two passes maybe that Mitch has thrown. And here's the big problem: when you pull up the stats for somebody like Mitchell Trubisky in the preseason. 9 of 15, 60% completed for 123 yards. Oh, his yards per attempt is 8.2, though. He's barely completing 60% of his passes. He has a 29-yard long, which is the longest of all of them. Kenny's long is a 24. He has one touchdown. He's taken a sack. It's still good for a 108.5 rating.
What was the deep ball to Pickens for Mason? What was the touchdown? Like 25 or something?
26.
Okay. I thought 26. It was a little longer. Right on.
So I think the 29 was the 29 this week with Claypool. I don't know. That was it was like a busted play, and he's running around, and it's like that can't be your game. He's got to stand in the pocket, and Kenny's standing in the pocket, and he's got dudes in his face, and he's throwing down the seam to Pat Freiermuth. And that was my other part of this was, when do you hear Pat? I know Pat didn't play the first game, but even Zach Gentry didn't either. But I'm looking at like statistics here, and you got Connor Hayward. Now I understand Jay Sternberger didn't play any offensive snaps in this game, but it just feels to me like the middle of the field isn't utilized when Mitch is in there. I can say the same somewhat for Mason as well. I think Mason has been trying to do that a little bit, but Kenny comes out there and just like, well, screw it, boom, boom, boom. Hits Deontay in stride, and like you showed.
Fearless.
And the red zone drill, what's the goal when you get down in red zone? You need to score tutties, man. You need to get some TDs. And Mason has had struggles with that always. He's like maybe 50-50 guy, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to say Kenny's perfect or going to be perfect going forward, but so far he has walked on water. It's very difficult for me to look at this. I'm going to throw something else out to you. And everybody wanted to say, trade Mason Rudolph, yada, 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 get this guy out of town. What can you get for him? We already saw Andrew Filipponi said some garbage about him this morning. He was talking about passer rating because Nick Mullins got traded to the Vikings, and he has a little bit better of a career passer rating, but Nick Mullins has almost as many touchdowns as interceptions versus what Mason does. I would argue the guy with the better trade value right now is Mitch Trubisky. You've kind of protected. You haven't seen him enough. And he's a starter. He's got X amount of games. Now, I'm not saying get rid of any of them. I want to take all three of them into the season. But if somebody calls me up on the phone, and we were talking about this before, and wants a 3 or a 4 for Mitch, and all I've got on the books for him are a little under $4 million this year and like 2.6 next year, adios. And I'm extending Mason as my backup, and then you're probably going to have Chris O as your developmental guy. And how much trouble you're going to get in, because you're going to live in your fears. What if Kenny gets hurt in this offensive line? And I said that about the 2019 team and not wanting to make those same mistakes again. But if you're starting Kenny already, your veteran quarterback is Mason. And I think there might be some there'd be seller's remorse versus a buyer's remorse if they got rid of Mason Rudolph and he went somewhere else and excelled. That's something I think that could be very real. Whereas with Mitch, it was like, well, he's barely here. He had a cup of coffee. I don't know that Mitch is even on this roster next year if Kenny wins this job. That's the big thing. The whole talk has always been, what order are these guys in? And I've always talked about how Mike Tomlin likes having a veteran quarterback as his backup. Mason is veteran enough, I believe. And I know Mike Tomlin made that comment. It was varsity versus junior varsity. That's what Mason's supposed to do too. If he does anything less than that, then you don't want him anywhere near a football. Yeah. But again, he hasn't done anything wrong, and maybe there's still something in the back of your mind that, well, this guy might still have something. I just don't see that if Kenny even struggles, he would have to struggle mightily, I think, for Mike Tomlin, if he starts week 1, to pull him. How quick is the trigger finger if you start Mitch Trubisky week 1 after you saw what Kenny's been doing? He's simmering there. What do you name Kenny the backup? Do you name Mason the backup? Do you have more of the, like this, I don't know, pissing contest like in the locker room, or are you making things unsettled? Like, I don't know where you go there with that. It's almost like, is Mitch going to cry over spilled milk? I said again, unless he hits certain incentives, he's making backup money. And if he doesn't win the job, then he's making backup money and he's a backup. I don't know exactly how you handle all of this, but for me, if I'm looking at the locker room and the way everyone seems to respond to Kenny Pickett in particular, compared to everybody else, Mitch or Mason, it's almost obvious to me that you got to rally and you got to go with Kenny. You got to go with the momentum. Why? My whole thing was, if he's showing things that he's not quite ready, you redshirt him. And that's where I was with the very conservative, old school football philosophy of don't play him year 1. I've turned around to, if you let him sit a year and he's not playing against defenses and stuff like that, you may actually harm this guy. It might do more harm than good.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I don't even feel like any type of solace or satisfaction in you coming over, because I've maintained that I wasn't 100% sure that Kenny would start week 1. I've always said my gripe was with people that were hell bent on sitting him no matter what. I've always said, well, what if he's ready? What if he can win the job? What if he can check your boxes and the Steelers boxes? Then can he play, or then does he still have to sit? That's been my whole point. I didn't expect Kenny to come in and play as well as he has and take the job, but I always thought it was a possibility, was all. And I love that you are hinting at the idea of, well, sitting him too long is a possibility too. I thought about when people were bringing up the offensive line and how bad it was, and how, well, now that he's done everything he needs to do, Kenny Pickett, I mean, well, here's our next reason for not wanting to play him, and it's the offensive line. The offensive line woes are not enough of a reason to go and stunt the growth of Kenny right now. Because as you just mentioned, and as I agree, he is on an upward trajectory, going like this, like the yodeler from Price is Right, going up the mountain. Only difference is I don't see him coming off the top of that.
Yeah, the hilltopper. The hilltopper or the mountain climber. Yeah, I was trying to think. Maybe, yeah, it yodels though. Yodel-a-dee-hee.
Yeah, it's that game. So that's how I see Kenny right now. He's just going up and up and up and up, and I don't see that fall off the mountain coming. Will he struggle? Yes, dude. Yes, he's a rookie. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to have fumbles. He's going to get sacked. I got news for you right now. I'm not going to deal with this on Twitter and people tagging me and adding me every single time Kenny makes a mistake, because that's going to happen. If Kenny comes out and has like a 26 touchdown pass, 13 interception season, that's a good rookie season. He's going to make mistakes. You hope that he learns from them and grows from them. And his opportunity to do that is by playing him as soon as possible. Nobody's forcing him on the field here between you, me, and the people that are calling for him to start. Was that happening as soon as he was drafted? Absolutely, for sure. But I think that people on TV and other bloggers and podcasters, they need to give Kenny his dues and his flowers and be honest with themselves and just come out and say, listen, yeah, I thought that Kenny wouldn't start week 1, but he's done everything he needs to do. And this isn't like it's the first time in the NFL that this has happened, man. Like, veterans have this idea that they're going to start for a team at quarterback all across the league. Almost every year there's a situation like this where a team goes out and signs a guy like Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, Matt Flynn, whoever. They'll sign a guy to come in and be the starter, quote unquote, while they draft a first round pick quarterback to learn and take his time and get ready. And then lo and behold, the rookie quarterback is better than the average or middle level veteran that was supposed to start, and you can't keep the kid off the field. It happens all the time, all across the NFL. And I don't know if it's a little bit of subconscious fear or guilt in some Steeler fans that are afraid that they're just not going to, like, Kenny's just not going to be Ben Roethlisberger. He's not going to meet that level And some people aren't ready to let go. Like I said, subconsciously, you may not be aware that you feel this way, listener at home, but if you're so against Kenny starting week 1, is it because you're not ready to let go of Big Ben? Are you afraid that we're going to be stuck in this Cleveland Brown 20-year span without a franchise quarterback at the helm? Because my response to that is you should be all the more excited to get Kenny on the field because he's been the best rookie quarterback of the preseason. And you would think, like, with how resistant some people are to still let Kenny start, you would think he was having like a average to below preseason. Man, he's got Pro Football Focus talking about him, and they hate the Steelers.
Oh,
I
jeez.
just
Yeah,
think,
they
like,
do.
I think if Tomlin and the Steelers sat Kenny down now and were like, you know what, we know you've gotten better every practice since rookie camp. We know you had that game-winning drive your first game at home. We know you have a 138.6 quarterback rating. We know you're killing it on the field for us and doing everything we ask. But we're going to pull a ripcord on this situation right now and let you sit a couple games until Mitch screws up enough times to get out there. It just doesn't make sense to me. Start Kenny.
You've said it all, man. And
Can you tell I've been working on this?
I didn't have to work on it. The thing that really sucks is I would have much rather recorded with you yesterday or even following the game if I could have. I was like, I had this itch that I needed to scratch. By the way, the iced coffee there. I'm not an iced coffee guy. Gotta have the hot coffee.
I'm hot and cold. Get it on iced coffee. Either I need my hot coffee for certain weather, but I think it might be a seasonal thing because summertime I'm definitely more of an iced coffee guy. But I still do take the pleasure of a nice hot cup of Joe.
Yeah, I've got a mug warmer that sits right here on my desk, and got like one of these really cool Steelers coasters with all the jerseys on it.
I have that same one with all the jerseys on it.
Yeah,
even,
I love it.
From back in the 50s or whatever.
Well, maybe not. Well, it has all of them. I don't know, 50s, whatever's on there.
Those
but
green
anyways,
ones, those have to be the 50s, those green ones.
The Gotham almost looks like what's the name of the team? Oh, I can't remember now. The Gotham Rogues out of the Dark Knight Rises. With Bane and everything. Yeah, Hines Ward and Ben and everybody. Yeah, let's go to Ben real quick on this. Just a recap for folks who have maybe forgotten. Let's see if I could do this with their ad-crippled website here. Pro Football Reference. Of course not. You'll have to zoom in or just kind of like squint your eyes. But Ben, of course, when he went 13-0, which is all anyone ever thinks about, 2,621 yards. He didn't even throw 300 attempts in kind of 13 and a half games, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Okay. Took a lot of sacks as the year started to go on and took more chances. 268 the second year for 2,385. Actually, fewer attempts in 12 games that season. 17 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. 2006, 18 touchdowns to 23 interceptions, but he was throwing 469 times. Nice.
He didn't break 20 the
35.
first 3 years. I actually didn't know that, or I forgot.
Yeah. He actually, it was 2007 when he finally kind of broke the mold there. 32-11, 65.3 completed. He had 59.7 the year before that. So in the first 3 years, you're kind of like, wow, I don't know, is this guy really going to do it? But nobody really thought that. He had like all these he had 5 game-winning drives in his rookie year. Out of those 13 games,
That's
2 and
it.
3,
That's
2
that
and
it
3.
Factor, that immeasurable factor that you can't find in Warren Sharp's guide to every season.
Exactly. And he's still throwing for like 3,000 some yards. In the year that they won the Super Bowl, 17 touchdowns to 15 interceptions in that regular season, that 2008 season. I mean, he's not lighting up the board by any means. Handing off the football, defense. That's the oh, geez, whose Hall of Fame speech was that? Now I can't think. They used to show it on the scoreboard all the time. They would say, Sundays in Pittsburgh, only one place you go, defense. It wasn't Mean Joe, I don't think. I don't think it was Mean Joe. I'm trying to think who it was. Might have been Mel Blount, but anyways.
It was a Steeler, though?
Oh, yeah. It was a Steeler getting a gold jacket. When they used to do it like out on the steps in Canton in front of the Hall of Fame. In front
Maybe
of the
Jack Lambert.
It wasn't Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you why it wasn't Jack. He didn't have the same skin complexion.
Okay.
Jack's a little lighter. That guy had a tan. So, anyways, It's like the obvious when it comes to like stereotypes or, the police blotter. Could you draw somebody or
Don't
something
think it
like
was
that?
him.
Like if we were trying to identify you or me committing a crime at McDonald's by throwing, somebody got shot for cold fries. That happened in like somewhere, New York or something like that crazy, but it would say either the guy without hair or the guy with hair. The guy
I
has
can
lots
never
of
commit
it.
a crime, dude. I could never commit a crime.
Not
I
like
got too
that.
many identifying marks. I got on my tattoos, man. I remember the one time when I was young and stupid, I had a couple too many underages.
Wait. When you were young and stupid.
Dude, I'll be young and stupid as long as possible, man. Thank you. I feel older every day, but I'm talking like when I was like 19, 20ish.
I get it.
I had to get my like profile taken basically and like fingerprinted literally because I had too many underages and I was like 19 and I had a DUI too. So that was actually that was why. It's off my record and I'm grown now, but this was again like 10 or 11 years ago. So they asked me to write down like all the tattoos I had at the time, and I only had like two, I think, or three. And I've got 20 now, and I never realized that they have you do that, like write down your tattoos so that you can be brought up like in the system and like, oh yeah, this guy had a kangaroo tattoo, he had a battleship on his leg, and like so the more you have, the less crime you can do.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's see how many people we have in the criminal database with a kangaroo Steelers logo and I don't know, the golden arches or something like all these like, and it's
the
like
golden arches in between his eyes and nose.
And 3 names came up and they were all you. It was like Zach, and then somebody misspelled Zach with an H, and then it said Flash or something like that because you were young, dumb, had too much to drink, and gave them the wrong name, and somebody was dumb enough to put it in the system. But anyways, yeah, Ben was Ben like in his early years, and I'm not going to go through all of these today because we still got a lot more to cover as far as the game and some of the other concerns. But, Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning's first year had some struggles, et cetera, et cetera. So let's get through the growing pains. Should have a solid defense. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I popped up, or I did say this, and I do want to reiterate. I wouldn't mind having all 3 quarterbacks. It's not like Mason or Mitch Trubisky are expensive to retain. I'm at the point, I was already kind of a mark for Mason. Big stand, big time. I wouldn't mind him just being the backup, and he's been the backup in that role for a while now. I know Mitchell Trubisky was just the backup to Josh Allen. I kind of say whoop-de-doo, but if somebody's calling me up, I would ship him out. I just don't feel like I just don't feel that he's the fit that's needed. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree and, he's going to turn it around. No, I see the same things. Whereas when camp started and Kenny looked like a little rough, you're like, okay, you take it with a grain of salt. It's the rookie. Let him get up to speed. And man, he got up to speed like really fast. Like I equate this to the online poker boom years ago. You were able to see like, I don't know, 5 times as many hands in an hour playing, I don't know, a full tilt or, party poker or wherever it was versus being in a casino. And yeah, I'm a Texas Hold'em guy, or I was at one point in my life. Not as young and not as dumb, I may add. I did okay with it. But man, I'm talking about a pressure cooker. Some highs and lows. I see why a lot of those folks are, the way they are. I don't have the personality for it. I'm not going to say that Kenny's the gambler, like another Kenny Rogers, but I'm willing to. You see the Vegas odds, which was odd to me before, that Kenny was a favorite to win like Rookie of the Year when I didn't even think he was going to start. And now those odds are starting to look a little different. And if you got in on it, I think you might have got in on it. Did you get on George or did you get in on the Steelers? I forget which one you said that you got in on.
I got in on Pickens,
Okay.
but this was like just in the nick of time because I think it was like 2 weeks before he became the lead to win Rookie of the Year. I got in at him to win Rookie of the Year at plus like 2,000. So I threw $5 on it, I think it was. So if that hits, I get 100 or 200, something like that. And if and if he leads rookies in receiving yards, I think that was similar odds, if not better. And if that one hits, it's like an extra 100 for me too. So I got both of those lined up and checked off on DraftKings just before that the game where he had the touchdown from Mason and kind of like took off as the lead dog for Rookie of the Year. But Pickett, I didn't get in on anything, honestly. And I just saw, last week, but this was pre-Jacksonville, that it was George Pickens #1, Kenny Pickett #2, Vegas odds-wise to win Rookie of the Year. And this was, like I said, before the Jaguars game. So it's possible now that Kenny might even have overtaken George as the lead dog, because George kind of had a quiet game, which isn't a bad thing, but he just didn't like stick out as much as he did the first game. But I always say Vegas knows, man. They know something, and sometimes they're wrong. But they've had their times where, like, I remember them predicting we were the most likely team to trade for Minka Fitzpatrick, but they also said we were the most likely team to get J.J. Watt. But they did change that over time as like the rumors came and went, and we ended up being like third or fourth most likely to get J.J. Watt. So they kind of, I think, sensed that one out and realized it wasn't possible. But they nailed Minka, and they've nailed other things too. So I think I think we're in the majority here, honestly, where we assume and think Kenny has done enough to earn the job. We just don't know what goes on in the mind of the Steelers and how much they really think they need to protect Kenny further. I think that Tomlin taking him out after that touchdown, like you said, says a lot. I tweeted about it as well. I was having fun and I tweeted, "Oh, he's out already." Laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji. Yeah, he's starting, because it's just what else could you think? You know, that's like they verbally they might as well have had a sign up that said, "We've seen enough. Come on out of the game." And but that again, I want to be clear
right
that
there.
we both seem to be on the same page here. But I can't give you I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. I hope and I want them to just go with Kenny at this point. It's very possible they still thrust Mitch out there for a week or two. I just think at this point they'd be shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I think that's just too disruptive to the entire team. Your timing with the wide receivers, just everything, even the offensive line and how long they have to block for, etc.
Yeah,
And
great points.
I mean, we've really when we were going to talk about quarterback. What else is there to talk about? There's plenty. We mentioned offensive line. Let's talk about maybe running backs real quick, because Benny Snell, for all intents and purposes, probably should be on the hot seat. And I'm trying to figure out if he really is. Did he do enough to secure or keep his job for this season? He didn't look so hot running, but then again, nobody did. When you take a look at the offense, let me see. The Steelers.
I think I used to be team cut Benny Snell. I think he may have done enough at this point with that special teams tackle and how much Danny Smith loves him. And I don't know. I think he might be safe. It's tough. I don't know how many running backs they're going to keep at this point, but the practice reports too all week kept saying, like, when Snell is healthy, the Steelers still like putting him in second. So maybe he's safer than we all have come to believe, or not we all, I should say. But I really thought after he got hurt in camp that his stand clock was flipped upside down. I thought Benny Snell was out of here, but his last performance was impressive. Not running the ball, like you said, but the touchdown and the special teams tackle were nice plays.
Yeah, nobody ran the ball well, and that's where I was headed. The Steelers, 14 carries, 24 yards total, and 10 of those, 10 of those were from Mitchell Trubisky. 11 of those were Steve Sims. So all but 3 yards. You had, and I have it up here. That's such a weird. The math is just Benny Snell lost 2 yards on 3 carries. Gunnar Olszewski lost 3 yards on a carry, and Kenny Pickett lost the kneel down probably, as I think, unless that was penalized, but he lost 4 yards somewhere along the path here. Whereas the Steelers gave up to the Jaguars 30 carries for 97 yards and a TD. So we'll see. Benny showed that he could handle the ball. He had 2 receptions, 15 yards off of 3 targets, which isn't too shabby. Like you mentioned, special teams. So it's going to be interesting. Could Jalen Warren kind of do the same type of thing? Anthony McFarland so far is the lead dog. Or actually, let me see here. I might be wrong. Let me look. Let's see. Rushing. McFarland has 9 carries, 57 yards, which is a 6.3 average. Steven Sims has those big plays, so I'm just going to throw him out entirely. Also with 9 carries is Jalen Warren, 37 yards, 4.1. Of course, he doesn't have the 24-yard long. The bell curve, once again, when you're talking about just purely statistics. I want to pause there for a second because they mentioned something about the Cleveland Browns and their carousel of quarterbacks. And that continues just yesterday. You think they would play Jacoby Brissett in place of Deshaun Watson and get everybody on the same page? They played like no starters at all. They decided to give Josh Dobbs a half, which he ran around for his life the same way Mitch did, but he broke one free and nearly did he score off of it or nearly scored? And
No,
then he
he
ran,
tackled it
yeah,
at
and then he
5 or
ran,
7.
yeah, the other one he ran in after that. That's right. And then they played Josh Rosen, who looked okay, but then people are dragging him this morning just based on the stats. There's the clickbait headlines and everything, and it's like, whoa, there's guys that drop passes, and they're different game script, different game situations. I know we could say that about anyone and everyone here, and we'll say it about, I might as well go back to Mason too, because he had that safety. And I'm not sure if he was just trying to get rid of the ball, if he thought one of his receivers should be there, if it got freelanced a little bit or whatever. What are you going to do there? And even Charlie Batch, I watched both feeds because the NFL Plus replay, unfortunately, was the Jacksonville feed versus live. I had the Steelers feed with Bob Pompiani and Charlie Batch, and Charlie was kind of like, he was discussing that too. You're going to talk to the referee and say, oh no, well that guy was supposed to be here or whatever. You know, they had to have the whole discussion as to whether it was intentional grounding. And then Presley Harvin, by the way, all of his punts were over 40 yards. None of them touched back, one inside the 20, 76 yards after that safety made a huge difference. That's going to help the defense. So I got to give some kudos to him. Boswell missing a 53-yarder, I'm not so concerned about. It's 53 yards, folks. Those aren't just gimmies. It's just getting nuts. But would you rather have the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation where the guy that's going to be starting, the original guy that's going to be starting is suspended, the next guy that's going to be starting you don't even play, and you're trying to figure out who your QB2 with an asterisk is? Like, I don't understand that. That seemed weird. And they're playing the Eagles, who are playing like some of their starters, or quite some of them. Gardner Minshew was out there, so it's just really bizarre. It's tough to evaluate. That's why you can't just look at scores and you look at certain things with this. But again, Kenny, with the eyeball test, the running backs, you have the eyeball test just because Benny wasn't out there. And you're like, well, if Benny doesn't get out there, he's going to lose his job. And that's been Benny's problem all along, has been his health. I don't know what they do with the running backs. It's just I wanted to throw out there, just like you said, Benny Snell still has something to offer perhaps and might not be going anywhere. I don't have anything to add to the wide receiver room. It's nice to see Chase Claypool come down with a nice ball. Deontay Johnson, of course, looks like the dude when he's there.
Deontay played well. I want to say the people bitching about that drop are out of their mind, dude. He didn't drop that ball, man. He hit off his fingertips, and the dude picked Mitch off. Or did they call it out of bounds? I don't know.
It was Chad Muma. That was another thing. Like Mitch really forced that. And that could have been picked, and fortunate that it wasn't. Where did Muma come from? Muma. I remember we were looking at what I thought it was like Wyoming or something. I don't know, but anyways, another young player you might be hearing about for years in the league, getting a lot of time.
Deontay looked good though. I thought Deontay looked good.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So I don't have a lot to say about wide receivers. I mentioned Jay Sternberger did not play. He played special teams, but didn't play offense. He could be one of the odd men out now in the whole grand scheme of things, since Freiermuth and Gentry are already healthy. It looked like
Freiermuth looked good. That was great to see Freiermuth running around after his hamstring issues.
Yeah, and I wanted to pull up, let me see, snap counts. I wanted to, Kevin Rader got 7 snaps on offense still. I mean, it's not up in the stratosphere of, let's see, Freiermuth played 22 and Gentry played 17, but it's still more than just about anyone else. Let me see. I'm trying to see where Hayward fell into this. Connor Hayward played 22. So they are putting a lot of 2 tight end sets out there, but just to see Rader get some time, I think was kind of cool. There's too many in that room too. Now let's go to the offensive line, because we dragged them a little bit and talking about Mitch running for his life, the almost near interception. Because if you keep him upright and he stays in the pocket, sometimes I just think the instinct is he doesn't see what he wants to see, and boom, he's gone. Now, he felt some pressure and he had to move at other times, so it's not always that way. But again, Kenny stood there and was like, and Kenny can move. It's not like Kenny's a statue like everyone like says Mason Rudolph is, which that's not always true too. He's just not as athletic. He's not as fast. You know, that's why he wasn't a first round pick, obviously. But Kenny stands tall and does all of these things. Mitch doesn't. Offensive line, I'm out on Kendrick Green. 100%. Sorry. Can't do it. I don't know. He's undersized, underpowered. Somebody said we need Mike Munchak back. I said, well, I don't think Mike Munchak's going to be able to get him taller or heavier or stronger or any of these other things. There are certain things with your God-given gifts and your God-given talents, and I'm not sure he has either of them to cut it at the NFL level. Cool with him as a backup. Hope Kevin Dotson stays healthy. There's people that are out on Dan Moore. I'm pretty close to being one of those also. I was not thoroughly impressed with him. Chooks was okay. Does James Daniels and everybody's like signed JC Treader. I hear the SNR guys saying that stuff, and I'm like, has there been a problem with Mason Cole at all?
I have a similar takeaway. I think Mason Cole that has actually been rather steady, unless I just don't know offensive line play. I thought Mason Cole is I think he's the least of our problems on the offensive line. And yeah, Kendrick Green, dude. Some guys just can't put it together on the field on game days, and it almost looks like that's what happens to Kendrick when he's out there. I mean, I don't know how he practices, but I don't feel like I hear like alarming reports from practice about the guy. And then it comes to game time, and it's like the lights are too bright for him. He can't remember what to do. He doesn't get off the ball quick. That one clip that I feel bad for him getting dragged for this, and like it's going around, and I'm sure everybody's seen it. But the guy gets by him. The defensive lineman blows by Kendrick Green. Kendrick Green stops, turns around, and sprints behind him like a ghost chasing Scooby-Doo. It's comical, like how bad of a block it was, man. And that wasn't even the worst play. He gets driven back. He's late. He's small. I'm like I said, I feel bad, but sometimes a player is what he is. And we were kind of when the Steelers drafted Kendrick Green, it was always supposed to be a developmental process, and he was a developmental pick, and he's just not taking the steps like Kenny is. He's not taking the steps and checking off the boxes. And Dan Moore, I want to hold out hope, and I don't know if that's because we need to, but I hope he can get a little bit better, because he truthfully did get better as the season went on last year.
And he's played with how many left guards already? Like 6?
That could be a thing.
7?
That could be a thing. His chemistry could be struggling.
Yeah. With Kendrick in there, I'm not sure if that's part of the problem. And there were also people that were dragging on James Daniels. Like
I'm disappointed as well. I'm disappointed in Daniels a little bit. I'm hoping he might be playing through injury, or might just be having a similar issue to Kendrick Green, that he's trying to put too much on his mind. But like his tape from Jacksonville is alarming as well. They ran the ball a lot better week one.
Yeah.
But
well, let's talk about Jacksonville though. Hey, you've got guys like the number 1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker. You've got, I almost said Kayvon Thibodeau got hurt in a Giants game. That one was scary. But Walker, you got the other Josh Allen. You got a lot of dudes.
Kevin Bryan.
Yeah, there's all kinds of dudes. And what was it? Lloyd, second round, top of the second round linebacker. They got a lot of young first, second, third year players that probably don't have the recognition or name brand labels yet that will get there. Kind of reminds me of Washington. What are they now? Commanders. But over the last couple of years, whatever their name changes, but how they had all of those guys like Montez Sweat, and then adding Chase Young, and just they're going to be there. They're going to be a force in that front seven altogether.
It's a formidable front for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely testing them, and it showed you where the deficiencies are, and it's like, whoa, good, because that's what you need to fix. And now before the season starts. You're not going to face that all the time, but you are going to face it some of the time, and every team's going to have their specialist that's a pass rusher. This is why I'm not going to get on the defense too much about stopping the run. I'm going to stay on the offensive line, though, because there was, let's see if it's still up. I have no idea. I don't know if you saw this.
Story, different day with the defense, dude, in preseason games. I got news for you, audience. If Cam Hayward's not playing, if TJ Watt plays like 10 snaps, if you got Buddy Johnson in there leading the charge, the defense is going to be in rough shape, okay? And that's what was going on in the preseason game. I never really worry that much about the run defense in preseason unless you have like all the starters in there for a quarter or two and it looks bad. And that's not the case. In fact, I think given the circumstance, I thought Mark Robinson played really well. He had a sneaky, awesome game. He laid a couple big hits. He's actually making me put my foot in my freaking mouth, because I remember when we drafted him, I was like, yeah, Mark Robinson, he'll be a practice squad guy. But he actually is. They killed the 7th round, dude, with Connor Hayward and Mark Robinson, or the 6th and 7th round, because these two are making a lot of heads turn in the preseason. And I saw somebody play Devin Bush better watch his back, because Robinson's playing that good compared to how bad Bush is playing.
I mean, yeah.
I think he's carving out a spot on the 53, Robinson. I mean, he's playing better than Buddy Johnson, who I assumed was ahead of him in the pecking order. So Robinson's making a name for himself. And I was also impressed with Casey and Edmonds.
Oh, man, they were both excellent. And if you're going to deploy either one of them, I mean, Casey just, again, looks like varsity against junior varsity when he was playing a little later.
He's a
And
good tackler.
and
I thought he
Edmonds
was more of a ball hawk kind of guy. He's a good tackler.
Edmonds was around where he needed to be, or else things could have been worse. You don't like saying that necessarily, but it's true. Yeah, Connor Hayward picked 208, and Mark Robinson picked 225. So that's pretty interesting. I'm getting there on Mark too. I'm coming around. I'm like, he's only played like 1 year at linebacker, but
Yeah,
somebody already talked about the physicality he brings versus anybody else, and more than what anybody may have seen with Devin Bush. I always wonder too, like coming back from the injury, do you play safe? Does that mess with your head? Have you been out of football for a while? Like, can you still play up to speed, et cetera, et cetera? So, I mean, I'm still giving out hope that he could be the player. But Devin White, I'm using the word getting dragged a lot, but Devin White was the other option. It was either of the two Devins, and the Steelers had a need for inside linebacker that year. So everyone's going to say, oh, this was bad, and they moved up to do them. And neither one of these guys is doing too hot after starting pretty hot. So damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Remember, Leighton Vander Esch was supposed to be the dude too, and he came back to the Cowboys on a very similar Terrell Edmonds kind of deal. They were ready to ship him off as well. They drafted Micah Parsons, and Parsons had to play edge, and you could play Parsons anywhere. You could probably do kicks and punts too, from the looks of it. So I'm on board with Robinson too. I want to jump back to the offensive line. Somebody had updated Eric Fisher's Wikipedia page yesterday, and it said he was part of the Steelers, and that got circulating around social media. It's changed back now. I don't have I had a screen capture of it. I don't think I have. I don't think I have it
anymore, man.
31 years old. I think he was just okay last year. I think he was a fill-in because the Colts had a number of injuries. So it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to say one way or the other as to whether he would be an upgrade. I mean, he's a veteran player, but is he old and slow now and kind of past his time? I don't know. That's usually the case with guys that are just sitting on the shelf there. And I know they have cap space, and that's been the argument with J.C. Treader too. And it's like, well, the Browns just had 2 injuries to centers, the guy that was supposed to start and then the guy they wanted to start next, and they still haven't reached out to Treader, who was their guy, and they cut him early because of salary cap considerations, and maybe because I honestly thought part of that might have been because he's the NFLPA guy, he's the president, and Deshaun Watson in the same locker room, is that a conflict of interest?
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That's a little big brain for you.
Yeah, the big brain. Look at the big brain on Joe. So I always gave that some consideration too, but it doesn't look like any other teams are scratching the surface unless he's asking for something ridiculous or what. I don't understand the situation.
Hey, listen,
there.
If the Steelers want to make a move, you're not going to hear any complaints from me. I don't know how likely it is. What good linemen are on the trade market right now, and what good linemen are out there? We're talking about Eric Fisher here and J.C. Treader. So I don't really know. If they want to do something, by all means, man, go ahead. I think the bodies might be here. This might be the line, and you just got to hope that Dotson stays healthy, because I think right now it's pretty clear he's better than Kendrick Green, and you hope that with that position battle nearing its end, you hope that Dotson and Moore can build some camaraderie together, and Mason Cole keeps being sturdy.
Yeah, he's not throwing the ball over anyone's head. That's already a good start. The other thing with Munchak that gets overblown too and overlooked when people talk about that, he already had Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro, who are pretty much all pros. I think DeCastro got his all pro nod after Munchak arrived, but he was already playing at like a near elite level, and Marcus Gilbert was always in that stratosphere. All those guys were already there. I think he took Alejandro Villanueva to another level. That's a guy, and Ramon Foster had already bit and clawed and chewed his way into being an undrafted guy to being a starter. I mean, that was somebody they were always looking to upgrade or replace, and he became a steady starter. And it's very tough. You had to go through and just clean the slate with all of those dudes pretty much almost at the same time, and that's something that's not being seen. And they're just trying to fill this up with 3rd and 4th round picks. Well, that's the NFL. You're going to find pretty much an undrafted starter or a late round starter on every squad, and there's going to be injuries. So there's the 6th or 7th guy on that in that depth chart is going to end up playing at some point too. That's just the nature of the beast.
Dude, all the people, that's my new pet peeve. All the people that looking back now, hindsight's 2020. You almost wish, if only, the Steelers had invested more in the offensive line this offseason or used a higher draft pick on one. Okay, dude, Finish that thought process, please, because you're saying, do you want to give up Kenny Pickett or George Pickens for a lineman? I doubt it. They're the two leaders.
That's
For
ridiculous.
Rookie of the Year right now.
Or Harris or Freiermuth at this point. You have to admit that those are all good picks. They tend to think that they don't know who was available, and they think that they would be at the same level as those individuals, but at another position, left tackle, guard, center, whatever. I don't think you don't have to reach for a center and have a first-round center. There's very few of those throughout all of the years. Like I said, the average is like three picks in the top 100, maybe 4 here or there. Even with Kendrick Green, you would have had to go with Quinn Miners, who was not playing center last year with the Denver Broncos. He was just playing guard, and he was a Division three player, the highest drafted Division III football player ever in the history of the NFL draft. And I'd say that might be taking a chance too. I get that maybe you're putting the square peg in the round hole with Kendrick Green and trying to move him from guard to center, but they've successfully done that before. They've had players in that mold that you'd like to have all of the motion and movement with. Kendrick is just, I don't know, some sort of lost cause. Defensive line, well, we're getting up against this. You didn't have Cam Hayward out there. You may as well say TJ Watt. What did he play? He didn't play a whole lot in this game either. TJ.
He played enough that I tweeted about it and said, all right, there's a sack. Let's get him at.
12 snaps, 16% of the game, so a series or two.
Okay, 12.
Series or two, and then he gets yanked. Highsmith didn't play at all. Hayward didn't play at all. You got to see Ogunjobi just a little bit. I think Wormley played about a little over a quarter of the game. Ogunjobi was 29%. Alu was 22%. So you didn't have the starting defensive line out there, which I think makes a difference. You did have the rotation of the inside linebackers and some of the secondary. Those dudes were out there. Guys, you see Levi Wallace and guys like that. There wasn't enough that got me that discouraged, but it's enough to say that there might be some carryover still from last season. You just got to get the other bodies out there and got to get them going. And Alu, this is his first action overall since last year from being
Larry's
hurt.
Larry's too. Really.
Yeah. Larry got hurt. And he's coming back from injury. No Hayward. Isaiah Loudermilk was out there pretty early. One of the Davis brothers was out there pretty early in the second quarter. So, I mean, you're going deeper. That's almost like maybe not even level 2. That might be going into practice squad levels, depending on if they keep 6, 7, probably not 8 defensive linemen on the active 53. You already liked KZ. I love Micah Fitzpatrick. They had like a zone play. They had a crisscross route. I think it was like a third down where they crossed both wide receivers, and it was a zone. And Micah was like, I'll pick one. And as soon as Lawrence saw which way he went, that's where he released. So it's just one of those things, but I know people will pick that apart on film too.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
Not necessarily Trevor Lawrence, but Micah Fitzpatrick, because we mentioned pro football, whatever, fantasy. The PFF doesn't like Minka. They don't like TJ Watt.
No, I was asking who threw the ball on that.
Yeah, it was Lawrence.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to be really good, so.
Yeah, so I heard. I think he may have been worth. I don't know. They might have been able to get him in the second round. That's what I hear about a lot of these top quarterbacks coming out these days.
Yeah. Dude. Miles Jack and Witherspoon too. Two last points there with the defense. They both stuck out as well. Witherspoon in particular was coming up and making tackles on the outside, and bringing his physicality that he had last year that helped him stay on the field and earn his starting spot at corner. Because the Steelers love corners that can tackle, and Witherspoon impressed me in that right. And then, of course, Miles Jack. I think Miles Jack might have been the best defensive player of the day for the starters anyway, maybe tied with Edmonds. But Jack stuck out, and that's a really great silver lining that we all can share together while we watch Devin Bush struggle. Miles Jack is as advertised.
Yeah, and if they end up, I don't know how much you would play Mark Robinson or if he even gets a helmet, but having the splash plays and being in the right place at the right time, sometimes that's all you need. And he plays, and I mean, he plays at an intensity level that I think raises the level of everyone else that's on the field. I'm going to boomerang back around to Mason because I got to the safety, but let's talk about that final drive too. That's the one. I mean, it's just like the Kenny territory. And I think that most of the people that watch the full game, that's where it started to flip. And I'm seeing a lot more people say a lot less negative things about Mason Rudolph. Steelers Digest player of the game from Labriola. Yeah, he earned it. I mean, that was some really good stuff right there at the end. I mean, composed and ran it. Again, it's like his personality isn't in the same stratosphere. You know what I mean? They don't get a rub. That's what we're talking about. Like, those it factors. Can he have the it factor or more of it, whatever that it may be? Mark Robinson have more of it than Devin Bush or Robert Spillane. And it's hard. I don't know that a 7th round rookie ends up jumping into the starting lineup. You never know if there's injuries or whatever, there's opportunity. If he shows out, that was Vince Williams many, 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 many years ago. I'm trying to think, was it like, oh, what was the dude's name? Was it Fox? There was somebody they had as like an undrafted linebacker that was ahead on the depth chart, and Vince Williams was a rookie. It could have been
Kieran Fox. I thought he was an outside guy, but he could have been inside.
Maybe. I'm trying to think, and it's outside my memory banks. That's like 2012 or something like that, where they had like a rash
I believe
of injuries.
Williams, he was starting the same. I think he came in with Le'Veon to 2013 or 14. I think he came in with Le'Veon. If I might be mistaken on that. Trey Norwood last year. Hey, if they can find a package or a particular set of skills that Mark Robinson can apply to the defense in a good way, he could get out there for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and I'm like perplexed. Let's see, because Larry Foote got hurt, and that's what had happened. Let's see, Larry Foote. It wasn't Stevenson Sylvester. Let's see, Lawrence Timmons. They didn't go that deep. Over here, I'm on our lads, which usually shows it, but somebody in the comments will remember there was somebody that got to start ahead of Vince Williams when Larry Foote got hurt, and then all of a sudden it was wow, this dude sucks. Like, he didn't even get like demoted, he got cut, like straight up cut. That's why it was like something where I'm really trying to remember who that was, and I could see like something that's maybe a similar set of circumstances that could happen for someone like Mark Robinson. I mean, we already saw Ulysses Gilbert's already off the roster, and they only have to trim 5 more names, and I expect that to be Nick Skyba. Probably it could even be like Jay Sternberger, but it might be somebody that's lower on the wide receiver depth chart right now, depending on who they want to play in this last game, like Tyler Snead, for example. Maybe one of these like random offensive linemen that doesn't get to play. Somebody in that area. It's not going to be the big cuts until after the game when we're talking again next week. So I think that's where we're going to probably leave it. I can't find the answer to my question. It just drives me crazy when I can't do that.
That's okay. Commenters, don't let us down, and make sure you like and subscribe while you're there.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a rating, do all that jazz. Oh man, I hate it. And I don't want to just keep droning on about it either, but gotta be...
Okay,
Jericho Cotchery. Yeah. But it's like one of those things that stays in the back of your mind forever. And
I love Jericho Cotchery, dude. Steeler legend. 10 touchdowns. How you doing?
Who's that? Oh yeah, Jericho Cotchery. That was 2013 peak Jericho Cotchery. And I remember everybody used to complain back then. You were right about the 2013, by the way. That was 2013. So kudos to you. Kudos to you, my friend. That was some quick goat thinking. Let's see. That comes from Adam Sandler.
Different song, baby.
I'm never going to find out. I'm never going to give you Damone Cromartie Smith. There's a name from the blast from the past.
I remember him, number 42.
Yes. Same number as James Pierre. Yeah, unfortunately, that's and Antoine Blake. There's another one for you when you're talking about maybe potential upgrades. Could be you.
He looked really cool, at least. He had a lot of tattoos.
Keon Wilson. That's who it was. Keon Wilson he appeared in 2 games, 7 starts. Vince Williams ended up with 11 starts that season.
I don't even remember who that is, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, he was another number 48. And he had come over he'd been around San Diego and Carolina, and then he was out of the league for a year. And then with the Steelers, he may have been a practice squad player. I believe he was completely undrafted entering the NFL. So feel bad for him. I mean, he got they took the giant hook like they used to do, like the old, 30 show tunes or whatever it might be, black and white films, and just whoop, right off, stage right. Just
see you, pal.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to do that with Devin Bush, folks, but I'm thinking some of the depth behind them, they might need to look over their shoulder if they feel like Mark Robinson is less of a guy that I'm going to throw in there week 1. Everybody looks at the draft class and thinks, well, they're all rookies. They should all start right away. Kenny Pickett, we're on board with that. George Pickens, we've always been on board with that. Calvin Austin is not getting time on the field, which is driving me crazy.
I know. He's breaking my heart, dude. I really hope he practices this week.
DeMarvin Leal, who's in between the two wide receivers, is the 3rd round pick. He's going to get some time. He's been
He
showing.
stuck out last game.
Yeah.
You should say that. He stuck out.
He's showing too. Connor Hayward, Mark Robinson, and then Chris Oladokin, who hasn't played. He might get some time. He'll get some time this week, I think, for the final game. It might show a little bit there, and we'll see what happens. So, Zach, thanks for joining me, man. Thanks for joining us. We're up against it. I hate saying I came around because I've never been completely anti-Kenny. And I always said that the 1st round pick, I got talked into Malik Willis as the 1st round pick because I didn't think Kenny was going to be there. I didn't think Kenny was going to be there at 20. Did you happen to see him play? Not the best showing this week. There aren't as many highlights popping off the page.
I didn't catch it, actually.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, you don't got to be hesitant. That's why I hate saying that, I was right, because I wasn't saying that he's definitely starting. I always, my gripe was always with the folks that said he has to sit no matter what. I said, well, let's see. I was never 100% sure he's going to start. When we drafted him, when I got on this show drunk, I said he starts by week 4. That's what I said. That's what I said in my unsober state. And looking back, maybe I got to give myself more credit when I'm not fully with it mentally.
Yeah, and you've got Pony already. He's saying that the Panthers are going to regret passing on Kenny Pickett. Who isn't? It's not like all of the teams that were ahead. It's a very odd year where there were a lot of teams that had multiple 1st round picks, and they had other needs because they've already used picks prior or free agency or whatever on a quarterback. They had a guy, even if it's not going to be the guy or the best guy. They have a guy to stick with, you know what I mean? Like the Jets, Zach Wilson. You're not going to go and take Kenny Pickett, for example. The Texans,
they could have.
I mean, they could have. The Saints,
they love Davis Mills, or you don't.
The Saints, I mean, were another team that maybe could have. You look at the Eagles. Would the Eagles have pulled the trigger or something, or are they sold on Jalen Hurts? Obviously the Panthers, Darnold, and then trading for Mayfield. And there's another messy room. And who got hurt? Was it Corral?
He might be done for the season.
Yeah, we dragged a few of these guys, and Carson Strong got some action the other day too. So a little bit more preseason football, one more week. And then we have a painful bye week sandwiched in between where we got to wait and salivate for this football, and then we'll have an official depth chart, and there will be no more speculation. The last question I have, do you think Tomlin should announce who the starter is sooner rather than later? I don't think that's his style, but
no, wait as long as possible, man. Chestnut checkers. What would Belichick do in this situation? Belichick would probably lie. He'd be like, hey, yeah, we're starting this guy, and then boom, week 1, it's the other guy. So if Tomlin's allowed, if the NFL isn't pressuring him, he should wait as long as possible until final cuts are made, and then. But I think it depends if Rappaport or Schefter can get a source close to the situation, because that's happened before too, where this is that high profile. Kenny was the first quarterback taken in the draft, so it's very possible that Schefter or Rappaport gets an inside scoop from someone and hears that he's going to be the starter and kind of takes Tomlin's thunder. But I think it'd be smarter, to answer your question, for Tomlin to announce it later rather than sooner.
Yeah, and just back to that Nick Mullins trade, was a conditional 7th round pick. I'm not taking a conditional 7th for Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky. Sorry, that's conditional. What's the condition? That the guy goes in? That's probably not going to happen. Derek Carr is pretty.
Doesn't die before the end of the season.
He's pretty steady, Eddie. Yeah, doesn't die. So that'll do it for us, folks. Until next time. Pregame, I guess we'll have one more pregame show at the end of the week, and we'll discuss who else is on the hot seat once again. I think we've already mentioned a couple of names. We'll see what else filters out through here. But that'll do it for us here on the Steel City Underground podcast. Thanks for watching or viewing from wherever you are. My name is Joe Kuzma. His name is Zach Celadonia. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.